Cruise news time. Well, look who's on assignment on the MSC Meraviglia. It's me. And it took me 3 hours to get on this cruise ship, and then there was a long muster process. You cruising MSC soon? Let me tell you how it works out of the US. Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Lido, Loca. I'm your host, Tony, here with the latest cruise news updates. Well, MSC, that's the big story. MSC has made its return to North America. The MSC Meraviglia leaving Miami yesterday, Port of Miami, making a 4-day cruise going to Nassau, Bahamas. That's right outside the window. That's where we're at today. And then tomorrow we'll be going to their private island, Ocean Cay, for an overnight. Ocean Cay tomorrow and the next day. And then we'll be returning back to Miami. But the big question I know you folks have are, what are the protocols like? This is a cruise that is both vaccinated and unvaccinated. They're not holding to the 95% vaccinated rule, and so there's some different protocols. And MSC, of course, let's give MSC some props. They've been cruising for quite a while, 6 months. They were cruising in the middle of the year last year before the vaccine, and so they've got some tried and true and some tested protocols, and I'll tell them to you. I explored the ship last night, and this is what I found. First off, let's talk about the embarkation process. I had an embarkation time of 1:20, and it said in all the literature, all the materials, do not show up early. And so I did not want to show up early and get stuck outside in the Florida heat. So I stayed at the Hilton downtown Miami. A lot of people are asking what hotel I was at. This was a great hotel. It was about an 8-minute Uber ride to the cruise port, and the hotel was only about $250 a night. I may have gotten lucky on that price, but everything else around the area was much more expensive. The room was clean. The only real beef I have with that hotel is that the food was expensive. They had a restaurant there. They had a Starbucks area there, and I got all the stuff that I liked. It was just a little expensive, but it was a little challenging to get out and wander around there too. So, you pay for the convenience of having the stuff in the hotel. It's not a big ding against the hotel. I would definitely stay there again. I've already told Jenny to put that on our list of hotels to stay at. And so the Hilton downtown Miami. So I knew I had to be at the cruise port at 1:20. I did not want to be early. I called my Uber about 10 till 1. I figured it would take a few minutes for the Uber to get there, and it would take a few minutes to get over there. The Uber was like 3 minutes away. So there was a lot of Uber activity in that downtown Miami area. The Uber came, and I was at the cruise port within 10 minutes. So I was at the cruise port by 1:10. And so I made my way up to the terminal. I was like, all right, well, maybe I can get in early, but I want to check. I don't want to throw off the system, as it were. Well, there was a person there that was waiting to take people to the priority boarding. So if you're on the yacht club on MSC, they will take you to the front of the line. And I asked the guy, I said, hey, my check-in time is 1:20. I'm here at 1:10. Is it okay to approach the building? And he was like, yeah, as long as the doors are open, it doesn't matter what your check-in time is. So I don't know that that's the message that MSC wants their employees to be sending out. There's just a little helpful hint, because that means inside the building there could have been a lot of people that came at whatever time. So I entered the building. The first thing I come to is a security checkpoint. I couldn't film a lot of this because a lot of it had to do with security. I had a medium carry-on suitcase, my camera bag, and a backpack. I sent all those through the x-ray machine. I walked through the body scanner, and boom, I was good to go. I got all my stuff together, and I moved to the next area. Now, the next area was the health questionnaire COVID testing area. And it was a huge room with a bunch of queuing lines and 2 stations that you had to check into. So at the beginning of the queuing line, there was a table of people that were looking at your health declaration form. So you actually had to bring a printed copy of the health questionnaire. You had to have it answered, and you had to have it signed. You gave it to a person. They looked it over. They inputted it into the computer, and then they gave you a set of stickers that had your name and information on it. And so then you had to jump in another big queuing line, and you had to take those stickers to the testing area. So at the front of this room, they had these little pods, partitioned off areas that you would go behind to get your COVID test. And so I got there. By the time that I worked through the whole snaking area, it was 1:45. So from 1:10 to 1:45, I did the health questionnaire, I snaked through all the queuing lines, and I got to the place where they were going to do the swab test. Now, when I went in the little partition area, they gave me a sticker with a number 2 on it and stuck it on me. I gave them my stickers with my name on it, and very quickly, they swabbed my nose. They didn't go deep. They just swabbed the inner part, even under the bridge of my nose. My glasses were on. It didn't go any further than that. And just that quick, I was out of the chair, and then I was with the rest of the group, 2 people, taken into another big part of the terminal where they had it cordoned off by numbers. And so I was in group 2, it was all roped off, and so a bunch of us were sitting there in group 2 waiting for our results. Now this was different than my experience in Nassau, Bahamas, where they told us we had to check our own email to see if we were positive or negative. It quickly became apparent that we would be, as a group, told it was time to go to the next area. They had people coming around saying your next area is going to be the check-in process, make sure you have your passport ready, all that. So we hit that area, I would say around 1:50, moving into 2 o'clock, and then at 3 o'clock, a full hour later, they came and got our group. So we waited for an hour for them to come and say, okay, you can go to the next part. So they came and got us. They took us to another big room with another huge queuing line at 3 o'clock, and this was going to be where we would check in to get on the cruise ship. Let me say this. It was slow. MSC, they're new in North America. They've been around in Europe for a while. All I've noticed yesterday was that while they have some great technological advances, they still have some work to do when it comes to using technology at the check-in process. And so I queued that line, and then I finally got up to where I was the next person in line. And I don't know what the deal was with the person that was in front of me. It was kind of one of those deals. So they placed you in the lines. There were lines in front of the customer service representatives that were going to check you in. I feel like it was probably 20 or 30. There was a lot of people working on it. But then they had people that would place you in the line. And so it's almost like that when you pick the wrong line at the supermarket. Like there's a line that's going to zoom by, and then there's a line that's going to stay stuck. I was in the line that stayed stuck for a little bit. So I was behind a couple. I noticed that they had passports from another country. I don't know if this is what caused the challenge, but it took them a long time to check them in. Like maybe 25 minutes to check them in. And so in comparison to when they checked me in, it took about 5 minutes. And so I got the bad luck. I was in the wrong supermarket line. So anyways, I got up to my turn, took about 5 minutes to check in. At the check-in, what they asked to see was my boarding pass, which was a piece of paper I had to print out. I had to show my passport, and I had to show my proof of vaccination. And they just asked you, do you have your proof of vaccination? That's how it happened there in Miami. And then when I said yes to all that, they gave me this bracelet here to signify that I am vaccinated. And I got on the cruise ship. And so the whole process, I got on the cruise ship at 4:10. So I got in line at 1:10. I got on the cruise ship at 4:10. So about 3 hours for the embarkation process. I was fine, okay? Like I knew in my mind, I talked about it the other day, you got to pack your patience. I knew that this was going to be a new process. And so 3 hours is a long time. Like I'm going to say that. I'm not complaining about the 3 hours, but I'm just saying, know what you're in for. And I messaged somebody else that we've known virtually for a long time. She said it took her 4 hours to get on the cruise ship. So if you're coming to cruise the Meraviglia, just know with the testing protocols and all that, it could take a while. Now, the compounding of it, man, I was super thirsty after all that time. I'd gone, like, all that time without anything to drink. And I was, of course, you have to wear a mask the whole time. That's the first thing. At the embarkation, once you get in that building, you're masked up the whole time. And it wasn't super hot. I mean, like, nobody was in distress or anything like that. But it was a long 3 hours. And I was ready to get a drink. Now, interestingly, I found my cabin. And on the cabin, when I got in on the TV, the safety drill was playing. And so I wasn't fully up to date on what the muster process is here on MSC. And so I watched the video on the TV thinking that I would need to watch it. I looked on my card and I saw that I was at muster station B. And so I watched the video and then I went to muster station B thinking that I could check it off. And the guy was like, no, we actually have a call to muster and we'll go through that process. And I'm like, okay, so I go to get a drink. And right when I go to get a drink, they call us to muster. So I walk the length of the ship. I find a bar that's not too crowded. I just want a soda and a water. And just as I sit down and I'm talking to the person that's going to bring me a drink, they call the muster. And she was like, oh, I'm sorry, we have to close this thing down. I have to go work the safety drill. And I'm like, okay. Sounds good. So this was about 4:30, 4:35 at this point. I had, gone to my room. I'd watched the video. I'd gone to muster station B, and then I started to explore the ship. And then, boom, call the muster. And exploring the ship is interesting. One thing I did not realize about MSC is there are areas and events for vaccinated people that unvaccinated people can't go to. I'm going to tell you about the muster drill. I'm going to tell you about those protocols. But quickly, let me invite you to subscribe. If you like staying up to date with everything that's going on in cruising, please consider subscribing with the notification bell on. That way you don't miss out on any of these episodes. So the muster drill. This is my third cruise in 2021. This was the most difficult muster drill. So they call you to muster, and that means you have to go back to your stateroom cabin. So I go back to the stateroom cabin. They've got an announcement coming on. Turn your TV on to channel 4, and we're going to play the safety video for you, and then there will be instructions after the safety video. So I'm sitting on the couch here. I turn on channel 4. Some period of time goes by. On the screen, it just says there's a drill in progress. So I'm watching that screen, but nothing's happening. And so I'm starting to go, oh man, what's the deal? A voice from above, channel 4 is not working. Again, this is their first, cruise out of North America beyond the test cruise. Just go to channel 1 and watch the video. So channel 1 is where the video was playing the whole time. I went back and so watched the video. And then after the video was over, we had to dial on our phone a code to verify that we'd watched the video. That was interesting. So the video ran, the voice from above came and said, hit this code on your phone and then wait to be called to your muster station. So more time passed, and they started calling decks. They called the higher decks, and then eventually they got to my deck. I'm on deck 11, and you couldn't take the elevator down. So you had to go, so the muster stations are on deck 6, and so it's to call the muster as if it was an emergency. Make your way to the muster station. You can't use the elevators, you just have to use the stairs. So there's this big exodus of people down to deck 6, and then eventually you find your muster station, and that was it. The process took about 45 minutes. So again, I'm parched. I'm contemplating like busting into the minibar. I just want something to drink after this, 4-hour deal. But it's cruising, baby. Again, I try to practice what I preach. And so I wasn't in a poor mood or anything. It was just, trying to get through the process. Look, I've always said that the big pain points when it comes to cruising is embarkation, muster, and disembarkation. And it proved true yesterday. Those were the biggest challenges getting on the ship. Now, I mentioned as I started to explore the ship, I did not realize that there were areas only for vaccinated people. I mean, we have the wristband, which I didn't know what that was going to signify. But sure enough, as I did start exploring the ship, I did find venues that were for vaccinated guests only. And then as they were doing announcements, I also realized that in the event planner, there's going to be activities that are for vaccinated folks only. One example was the show last night. They had a really great show, a tribute to rock and roll. They did it 3 times though. So they had a show in the 6 o'clock hour, they had a show in the 8 o'clock hour for anybody who wanted to attend. They had social distancing in the theater, you had to wear a mask, and then they had a late night show that were for vaccinated guests only, no social distancing, and you could take your mask off when you got inside. And I know there's people that get upset out there, oh, they're treating people differently. It really doesn't seem like that on the cruise. We're all together. Everybody, vaccinated, unvaccinated, are wearing a mask in indoor spaces. I don't really know who's vaccinated and who's not vaccinated. I guess you could be like a wrist stare or something like that. But the thing that, let me just say this as a positive. There's a couple options here, right? The businesses are trying to do what they can do to keep themselves as safe as possible, but also service as many customers as possible. There are a lot of families vacationing here. And so regardless of what the protocol is, MSC has found a way to accommodate a lot of families that probably haven't had a cruise vacation in 16 months. And for that, I applaud them. There are kids galore on this cruise ship. The Lido deck, you don't have to wear a mask outside. Up on the Lido, completely packed yesterday. Kids frolicking in the pool. It presents an opportunity. So I found this to be an interesting cruise so far. I'm going to continue to explore today, see what other places. Right now, I noticed that there's one lounge that is for vaccinated guests only, the casino for vaccinated guests only, and then there's just different things on the activities list. I know a lot of times MSC gets knocked for the food. It is different. It's not traditional cruise out of the U.S. fare, but I've had some tasty meals already, and the ship is beautiful. I just have to say that. Here's a brief look at the dome. They have a dome show several times a day. This is part of their big promenade area. I'm loving this ship. I can't wait to explore it more. I know I've said a lot. Let me give you just a quick recap. You had to get tested to get on this cruise ship. Embarkation took me about 3 hours. You have to wear a mask inside the terminal. You have to wear a mask inside the cruise ship unless you're eating or drinking, or if you're in an area that's for vaccinated guests only, they can take off the mask. There's not that many areas on the cruise ship that's like that, so essentially everybody has the run of the cruise ship. A lot of families are taking advantage of it, and yeah, it's cruising, baby. MSC back in North America. I'm excited for them. I'm excited to see what they're doing, and I'm excited to explore more of this cruise ship. Let me kick the question over to you. What do you think about this type of cruising with the testing and the masks? Does this sound like something for you? Is this a good way to get your family on a cruise ship? Any comments that you have, leave a comment below. Thank you so much for checking out the show today. Please show your support by hitting the like button, or may all your dongles for your computers become loose. It's a little inside joke from last night's live. Make sure you check that out. Tony with Lido, Loca. And until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Loose dongles. Bye.